following podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Remember, the first rule of gambling responsibly is to bet with your head and not over it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cousin Vito's Casino Podcast proudly presents your guide to enjoying gambling. And now, direct from the bar, your cousin and mine, Cousin Vito!
Whoa! Welcome, everybody, to Cousin Vito's Casino Podcast, your guide to enjoying gambling. I'm your host, Cousin Vito, and together, we're going to make luck happen at the casino. Thank you for checking out episode number 136. And I'd like to welcome back my buddy, my pal, my fellow paisan, Big Lou.
Oh, hello, Vito. Thank you for having me back on the podcast. It's very different now because I'm doing this from my studio, and you're doing this from your studio. This is definitely not what I'm used to when I'm a guest on the show, so this is going to be an interesting time today.
Oh, yeah, we're practicing social distancing on the show this week. And Lou, you came on for a really great show. This might be one of my biggest shows in a long time. We have
what's going on?
Professional poker legend Daniel Negreanu on the show, Lou.
Wow.
So as we talked about last show with the travel fanboy, I'm participating in Daniel Negreanu's masterclass. I bought it a while ago. I went through it once. I'm going through it again. So I sent him an email and said, hey, Daniel, would you like to come on the show, talk about your masterclass? Because I'm learning a whole lot from it, and I feel like a lot of my listeners would get a lot out of it. So he said, you know what, kiddo? I know you're just some guy out of the East Coast, but this poker legend came on the show to give us some information, Lou.
That's great. That's a big get for you. I know you've had a couple of big guests, but Negreanu is huge for this market.
A very, very fun interview. We got into the nuts and bolts of putting together the class. We learned some tips and tricks.
So that's pretty cool. I'm very interested to hear how this interview goes.
But that isn't all, Lou. We got Daniel Negreanu on the show. That could be it. But after the interview, Lou, I want to catch up with you. You're working retail. You got people sneezing, coughing on you. Oh. So I want to hear how it is out there in the real world. And also,
it's something else.
In the interview with Mr. Negreanu, Professor, as I like to call him now, we talk about poker home games and what to do during this pandemic and the quarantine. And Lou, it just so happens me and you have been playing a little poker together, and we had a hand that I really want to ridicule you for and pick your brain and drag you through the mud for after this interview. So I hope you have some thick skin.
Oh, I've been waiting for this since that moment happened. I've been waiting for this exact moment. So yeah, I can't wait to talk about this.
I think we should just jump right into this interview. Daniel Negreanu, one of the winningest poker players of all time, also has a wonderful class on masterclass.com. So everyone sit back, relax, grab a cocktail, grab some of your rations, and enjoy my little talk here with Daniel Negreanu. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome in poker legend Daniel Negreanu. All right, I am here with a very special guest, Daniel Negreanu, one of the most famous and popular poker players out there. Daniel, how are things going in these precarious of times?
Well, luckily for me and my wife, we are pretty accustomed to staying home. We're both homebodies, so it's been really kind of much the same, except, now we don't have to go to engagements and social events and things like that, so kind of a blessing in disguise for us.
Secretly, I'm enjoying the quarantine a little bit myself. I got to tell you, you get your home projects done, you hang out, do some research. I watched a couple of good movies so far. It's actually been a blessing in disguise in a way.
Yeah, I think, for a lot of people, this is probably new to them in terms of this type of lifestyle. And people take it one way or the other. They either say, okay, this is a great time for personal development, start working out, eating right, or the other way, which is like couch, Cheetos, potato chips, cookies, and, balloon up. So I think it's a worthwhile time for people that, are at home for the first time in a while, that actually can start to think about tackling some projects that they've been putting off for a while.
Oh, and I'm working on that right now. And one of my projects actually was becoming a better poker player. So when the poker rooms open back up, I could slide right in there and maybe have a little success, which I haven't had in the past.
That's actually a really, really good idea. And a lot of players are doing that. Poker players themselves, either studying, as you said, or also playing poker online. That's been booming, frankly. Like GG Poker, which is I'm an ambassador of, we've seen our numbers triple since the coronavirus. So not that we're rooting for it from a poker community standpoint, obviously, but it certainly has helped, create a boom in online poker.
And I'm assuming that a lot of these states that have been holding off on the online poker that have land-based casinos, they might be rethinking the hemming and hawing they were doing with passing the legalization, because they're probably missing out on a lot of money right now, the states that held out.
Yeah, I've spoken to tons of politicians on this topic, and they're just not all that, educated on online poker and how it works. And, with sports betting being legalized across the country, you'd think that poker would follow suit. Unfortunately, it has to happen at the state level. So state by state, here in Nevada, we're good. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, a few states here and there. But it'll take some time before you get the big nuggets, which is like New York and California.
Well, hopefully we're on our way, because I'm out here on the East Coast in Connecticut, and I'm biting my nails here. I wish I had a nice online poker game that I could go play.
Yeah, no, there's certainly unregulated sites that I don't recommend that are available. And I know, what's happening in Vegas with a lot of guys, what they're doing is, let's say you have 8 or 10 friends, you go to one of these play money sites and you just play for play money, and then you settle up, whenever this quarantine is over with each other.
Oh, like a virtual home game.
Like a virtual home game. I know some people are doing it on Zoom. So, Zoom is like a conference thing where you can see everyone's face, kind of like what people are doing with going to bars, and you basically can all play on a play money site and, give each other needles and, all that sort of thing.
Oh, I'm liking this, because now maybe I could use some of these skills I'm getting in your master class here against people a little sooner than I thought. I figured I'm a few months out at least. Now, I might have to get some friends together here and have a little play game.
Well, yeah, good way to practice some of the things you learn on master class. I think it's, the entire course itself, it covers a lot of different things. And I would say it's not for somebody who's never played poker before, because it might be a little too advanced. But if you've already played and you want to get better, I think it's really worthwhile, especially at the price point.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And for me, I consider myself a novice. I played a lot of home games. I played a little bit live in person at the casino, but this was right up my alley as somebody who, I want to dip my toe in a little bit more poker, but go in with the confidence that I'm not doing anything too off the wall.
Oh, yeah, no question. I think one of the key things, aside from talking about how to read people, physical tells and stuff, is also just how to think about poker differently. I think a lot of people, when they play, they look at their hand and they're like, oh, these cards are good, I'll play. They're not, I'm not going to play. Well, the game's a lot more complex than that, right? Thinking about problems. Like when I do poker lessons at my house, which I'll do occasionally for charity, I often have people come over and we play a little game. And one of the things I ask them when we go at the end of the hand, I go, okay, so you raise with this hand. Why? And then they say something. And then I go, well, why did you think that? And then when you think more about what you're going to do before you do it, you find that, you'll find a lot more mistakes that you might be making that you can fix.
Oh, and that actually, you touched on that at the beginning of this class here. The correlation between your hand ranges and the different appendices you have with hand range charts, depending on your position, it really helps somebody. You know these concepts separately, but to make them work together like an orchestra, that's really a lot of what the class did for a novice like me.
Well, that's really good to hear. I'm glad that, you soaked it in. But sure, there's a thing called GTO, which is a short form for game theory optimal, right? So what that essentially means is if you were playing against a robot, what is the correct play? So we try to start from there as a baseline and say, okay, if I was playing against a robot, here I should bet 75% of the time. But now I know I'm playing, I'm playing with cousin Vito over here, and I know this guy doesn't fold. He never folds. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to bet 75%. I'm going to bet 25% of the time. So I make adjustments based on the person. And that's really what you want to learn first is what is the fundamental right play? And then you make the adjustments based on the person you're playing.
Now, this class has so many. I mean, I'm scrolling through right now. It has over 30 chapters. And the best part is for people listening is each chapter comes with actual PDFs that you could print out. Daniel, I have a notebook over here with your picture on it from the cover of the masterclass that has all your chapters. I have highlights in them. If you take it seriously like a real college course, you can get a lot out of these things.
Yeah, no, and the good news is when you get the course, like it's yours for life, so you can rewatch. I know a lot of people that do that. You can also take notes with the PDF, as you said, and digest it slowly. I would say that, it is a lot of information, so rewatching isn't a bad idea. There's different sections, as I said. I think the one part that for a lot of poker players they struggle at is like looking for the subtle tells. Like, how do I know when someone's bluffing based on what they look like? And I go over some things to look for, in several of the chapters there.
Now, when you were putting this class together, did you just have a blank canvas and you built this from the bottom up? Or did you have something you were like an end game and you tried to get there?
Well, so first and foremost, when Masterclass approached us, I took a look at what they offer. And I watched, for example, Gary Kasparov on chess. And I wanted to get a sort of an idea of what is Masterclass all about, and then create a program that really fits in with their branding. And then what I did was I approached two guys that I work with. One is a computer scientist, another one is another pro who coaches. And the three of us together, we came out with an outline, that would sort of cover all the bases for the exact kind of person who would want this. And then we filled it in. So we sort of create like a chapter title and then fill that chapter in with the information we wanted to do. And, we worked with Masterclass, of course, hand in hand. And it was the best production I've ever been involved with. From like, they're so top notch, high end. They work with, the people the best in their industry. Usher teaches dance. Christina Aguilera teaches you how to sing. You want to learn how to act, Samuel L. Jackson will teach you. Wolfgang Puck, you want to learn how to cook, he's got a class there. So it's really awesome to be associated with all them. And the way that the Masterclass works is you can either just buy my course for poker, or you can get a subscription for a whole year to all the classes and watch them at your leisure all year long.
Yeah, so you could be a poker player, a cook, a ballerina. You could get all the classes at once here.
Yeah, no question about it. Like, I'm always looking out for some of the newer classes that come out. They even had one on on politics with Karl Rove and David Axelrod. So you had both sides of the spectrum, just discussing what it takes to run a campaign and all that kind of stuff. I found that kind of interesting. Just cool. Like, whatever your interests are, there's going to be something there for you.
And how long did this take to complete? Because I'm on here. There's over 7 hours and 40 minutes of videos that supplement this course that you produced. I mean, that's like over 2 Godfather movies in a row here. It must have taken a while to get all this together.
Well, I would say it took a couple months to put together the curriculum itself. Then when they shoot, the shooting part was actually really hard work. And I'm used to being on camera doing this stuff, but it was 3 packed days where, we were using different sets, where we're doing probably 8 to 10 hour days of, continually going over the stuff and shooting all the video for people. So the process itself probably took about 6 months total, because then they edit and all that stuff. But as far as like on camera work, that was 3 days with some, voiceover work later and some, touch-ups here and there.
Wow. And one of the other cool things that's a feature of these videos is we get to watch some hands, and we get to see some of these different techniques and different information you're giving us play out live at a table that during hands that you were in. It's really an excellent compliment to all these other chapters that you have.
Yeah, I find that's always been a really good teaching tool, and people have always found it interesting to, I've been on TV a lot playing poker. So, sometimes I'll play a hand on TV, people watching, maybe thinking all these different things about what I'm thinking about, but it's kind of cool, I think, for a lot of people to actually hear my thoughts. So going over game film, a video of hands that I've played, so I can say things like, I raised here because notice that he coughed into his hand and looked uncomfortable. So even though I wouldn't normally call, I called here because I thought he was weaker than normal. Well, that's not something you can do in real time when you see it on TV, but being able to go over it post-game, or if you will, I think is a great way to teach, how the pros do it in real time.
When you were sitting with your team putting all this together, did you learn anything about yourself as a poker player? Because some things you do intrinsically, but when you were writing stuff down and filming videos, were you like, that's another interesting piece, a caveat that I don't really talk about that much?
Absolutely, no question about it. I think when I teach poker, it actually improves my game because it forces me to think about what I'm doing. So I've been playing for 20 years now, at least. And sometimes you can get into a place where you're just going through the motions kind of on autopilot. But when I have to explain every little detail of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, it forces me to think more extensively about, does this make sense? Is this actually correct? Or am I just kind of like taking for granted that I know the right answer without doing the math and without, doing the full analysis? So no question about it. As we, went through with the course, just starting to, it actually inspired me to go play after that because I felt like I was, my mind was in tune with high level poker.
Oh, that's how my mind's been feeling lately, Daniel. This is our first time talking, but I've heard 7 hours of you. I feel like I'm talking to my professor here, like Mr. Negreanu from Mr. Cotter almost.
Yeah. Speaking of Mr. Cotter, he's also a poker player. Gabe Kaplan. He was the host of the high stakes poker show that I think we got some video for in the masterclass.
I think it is snuck in there, and it's very highly rated on the masterclass site. Almost 5 out of 5 stars. And I mean, you're up against Gordon Ramsay, all these other heroes of their specific niche, and your class is probably one of the best rated on this site right now.
Yeah, well, the thing about my class, like, it's great to learn how to cook, and it's great to do a lot of, like, learn how to hit a tennis ball from Serena Williams or shoot jumpers from Steph Curry. My course will actually teach you how to make money. So I think from that perspective alone, the value that you pay, which is somewhere in the range of $80 to $100 in that neighborhood. I'm not exactly sure what the exact price is. You're going to make that in spades just from the decisions that are going to improve when you actually play poker.
And speaking of making money, one of the other great things in this masterclass is you break down how to play the game, but you also break down situational things, your tournament strategy early on, your late tournament strategy, cash game strategy, online strategy. Because you have to take this information, but you have to process it into all these different types of games and situations you're in.
Yeah, no question. There's a lot of different formats of poker. As you mentioned, tournaments and cash games. You've also got online play, and online play is a totally different beast in itself with all the information you can gather, from keeping notes there. So it was important to create different, modules where people could focus on the things that they want to learn about. Because some people, they love tournaments and they don't like cash. So maybe they skip that section, or maybe, cash game players don't want to play tournaments, but they want something that's specifically for them. So what we tried to do was cover the gamut and make sure that every poker player, whatever their interest was going to be covered in the masterclass.
Oh, and it's broken up nicely, so these videos are really in 10 to 15-minute chunks for the most part, so you don't have to go open up a video that's 7 hours long. It's almost you could take a precision scalpel, cut out what you really want to work on, or maybe you had that online poker hand that you messed up, and you could go back and take a look and say, all right, this is where my thought process began to go off the rails.
Yeah, no question about it. And as you said, the videos are, anywhere from, 10 to 20 minutes. But the great news is, unlike you can pause it whenever you need to. So, if you feel like there's a spot where you want to take a note and remember, then, you can write that down and continue to watch the video. And as I said, you can rewatch anytime you want. You've got the PDF files, which have essentially a summary of what's in the video that you can read if you want as well, if you're on an airplane or whatever, case may be, if that's an easier way for you to digest information.
Oh, yeah. I did it like the old college try. I had my notebook, then have the videos. I'd read the chapter. After I'd watch the video, do some little highlights. So anyone out there listening that's in my home games, watch out, guys. I'm getting ready for you.
Uh-oh. So here's a mistake that I probably should have mentioned.
Oh, no.
In the thing. Don't tell everybody how good you are, because then they're not going to want to play with you.
No, they've played with me. They know I'm not that good, Daniel.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll be better.
I'm getting there. And so for a novice like me, a lot of listeners to my show, we're casual casino goers. We have a lot of gambling leaks. But what are some of the things that you see in novice players when you're at the table? I'm sure over the years, you've had to run into somebody and be like, oh, this poor kid, he doesn't even know what's coming.
Well, I mean, the number one fundamental mistake that, typically, newer players make is they just play way too many hands. They see an ace in their hand and they're like, oh, wow, I have an ace. That's the best card. I should play. But the other card's a deuce, which is, not that good. And all of a sudden they're putting all these chips in against people who are playing hands like ace, king, aces, ace, queen suited, all that sort of thing. So playing too many hands. When you think about starting hands and fundamentals, like a basic idea that I teach for beginners is you want to play 2 cards 10 or higher, suited preferably, pocket pairs, and then a suited ace. So if you have like ace 2 suited, ace 4 suited, those are good. If you have a hand like a queen and a 5, a jack and a 6, 10 and a 4, those are garbage. Don't even bother. Don't like live in the past where some people, like, they fold a 10 and a 4, they see the flop was 10, 10, 4, and they think, I should have played. That's not how it works. Just because you would have won doesn't mean it was the right move.
And for novice players like that, do you see a lot of tells? Like, is there like a general tell that you see from somebody that's skittish at the table, that maybe they just had a quarantine, they took your class, they're going out to the casino, and do they shake? Do they talk too much, not talk enough? What would be something that, maybe it's a common tell?
All right, the most reliable tell that you'll find with amateurs, and this is a really good one, so once you spot it on people, don't tell them because they'll continue to do it subconsciously. Now, if you're playing Hold'em, when the flop comes out, watch the player. If their eyes dart towards their chips immediately, subconsciously, if they just sort of glance at their chips really quickly, and then look back at the flop, that's a subconscious tell, because what it means is they see something that they like, and their brain is telling them, oh, the next thing I must do is grab for my chips. Where are they? So they look down at their chips. Conversely, that same player, let's say they look at the flop and it doesn't please them. They don't like what they see. Well, they'll just continue to stare at the flop and they won't glance at their chips because they're not having that subconscious thing. That's a very difficult thing for people to correct because, as I said, they don't know that they're doing it. But if you're playing and you see a flop come out and you see a guy glance at his chips and he checks to you, be careful because he might have a very strong hand.
Okay, all right. That makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna have to be more aware of that myself because I need glasses, so sometimes I'm squinting. I don't know what type of tell that'll give people. Though I look back because I can't see half the time, depending on my table position.
Well, listen, if you're squinting and you're squinting randomly, then it is what it is. When I was on high stakes poker, I think I mentioned this in the class. I have Tourette's syndrome, which most people don't know, which means sometimes I blink uncontrollably. And I was on the show and the lighting was really strong, and I was in this pot where I took $50,000 in cash and I threw it in the middle of the pot and I was bluffing. So the guy called me and I got caught on the bluff. Well, for the next year, because I know everybody watches that video, everyone thought that when I blink a lot, that must mean I'm bluffing. So for about a year or so, whenever I had a really good hand, like a full house or something like that, I'd start to blink uncontrollably on purpose to fool people until they sort of caught on.
That's actually a great example because you can do that at a home game table. Maybe set some traps up, some trap tells up. Maybe you have a betting pattern that you try and keep and you switch it up one time when you think somebody thinks they're onto you.
I'll tell you what, I'd be careful with that for the most part because that's what a lot of amateurs try to do, but they just give it away. Like one of the other ones that's an obvious tell is, when I'm playing with an amateur and it's on them and they just leave it like they give out a big sigh like, and then they bet as though the sigh is supposed to make me think that, oh my God, they have such a tough decision, poor them. So, they don't know what to do. That's usually a sign that they have the best possible hand and they're trying to like throw you off. Be careful with the acting thing. Unless you're a good actor like Tobey Maguire or somebody like that, I would advise just trying to, stay still.
Well, I am definitely not a Tobey Maguire, so I might not be able to invite you to my home game, Daniel. I don't think I stand a chance here. You're spotting my tells over audio Skype at this point.
Well, what I typically would do is if I played in a game like yours, all the money you'd lose, I donate it to your favorite charity.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I'm going to let you go soon here. I know you're probably, even though you're not going anywhere, you're probably still busy. You got some stuff going on in your house. I had this idea of all these poker skills. It almost, by the end of the class, you're like built up like a building. You have all these different levels, all these different floors of information and knowledge. What would you say is the biggest base or the most important base piece to being a good, at least recreational poker player at the casino? Is there one piece of information or one theory that, all right, you need to understand this or none of this other stuff is going to stand up?
Yeah, I would say that, in order to be a great poker player, there's 3 attributes that are important. And one is super important for the beginner. And I'll get to that one last. One is discipline, right? So you could know how to do all the things properly, but if when you're losing, you start to play like a donkey, as we call it, well, then it's not very, very helpful. The other is natural talent and ability and card sense and intelligence, right? Well, that's something that you can work on and learn like school. But the most important thing is learning the fundamentals and understanding the basic math behind the game, understanding which hands you should be playing from which positions, how much, like when you should bet, and also how much you could bet. This is all the intricate stuff that you can actually learn with practice and through taking in the masterclass.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Okay. And before you go, you put a lot of work into this class, and I'm sure we have 30-something chapters here, but a lot of the wisest people, we're all lifelong learners. Is there anything maybe that since you finished this class that you've learned at the poker table, or maybe after you finished you thought of something and said, oh, you know what, that would be good for another class if we do another one of these?
Yeah, no question about it. One of the things that I think was really interesting to do is really just when it comes to hands, like famous hands that have been on television, and having me break them down. Because every time you break down a hand, every hand is completely different than the previous. There's certain principles and concepts that are similar, but every single time you watch a hand or you see a situation or you've seen the same movie, if you will, it prepares you for the next time you find a similar situation. So no question, I could do a masterclass 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, like endless amounts of opportunity simply from just going over game film of hands that I've played, and also, some of the best players in the world that, even hands that I wasn't involved in.
Oh, man. And as a lifelong learner, what are some other resources that you would use? So I'm basically, you're like my professor this quarantine. I have the PDF, I have the videos, but is there any supplemental text or supplemental videos that you would recommend for an aspiring recreational poker player?
Well, this one's free, and it's my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel, if you search my name, Daniel Negreanu, you'll find my YouTube channel, and I do a whole bunch of these hand breakdowns, which is similar to what I talked about, where we take famous hands, go over the do's and don'ts. There's also specific like poker lessons in different spots. There's a how-to play like the very different formats of poker, whether it's Omaha, stud 8 or better. I do videos on each of those. So my YouTube channel is a pretty good source of information. And again, it's free. And if you're quarantined and you want to go down the rabbit hole, check out the vlogs if you want to. Those are kind of fun. They're more like entertainment based. But every summer during the World Series of Poker, I shoot a daily vlog, which essentially follows me through the process of playing in the World Series of Poker every single day for about 7 weeks.
Oh, wow. And we'll see the World Series. Did they officially cancel it yet, or are we still waiting for an announcement?
Well, they haven't canceled it yet. There's really no reason to do that right now. I think they can cancel in early May. They said to look at it. My guess is they'll probably be forced to cancel it unless some miracle happens where, we see this virus just decided this wants to disappear. But because the poker tables, unfortunately, it's probably the worst spot for spread of disease and germs, right? You're touching the same chips, the same cards. People are playing for long hours, eating at the table, coughing into their hands. Germs will spread fast in that kind of environment.
And suddenly being a poker dealer or being a casino dealer in general, that's a high-risk job all of a sudden. Very high risk, it feels like. Well,
with this, obviously, you got to take the proper precautions. If you are a dealer, you got to maybe wear a mask if need be, if this thing is still around and they decide to go forward with it, and make sure that, of course, you're washing your hands and not touching your face, which is easier said than done. I say that as I'm touching my face right now. I didn't even realize it.
And once this quarantine and all this is over, is there anything that you're looking forward to poker-wise? Obviously the World Series, but do you have any plans for yourself? You wanted to go play here or travel here? Anything that you're looking forward to?
Well, you nailed it, really. It's the World Series of Poker. That's the time of year where I put in the majority of my poker. I don't travel as much as I used to. So I always look forward to playing, in June, July, really grinding it out. But I'll tell you what, this year, if, that means just, enjoying the sun in the summer here in the swimming pool in the backyard and playing some golf in my backyard, I'll be fine with it. Maybe we could have a World Series postponed to the fall. That might even be a better time for me, but it's definitely the World Series that I look forward to playing each and every year.
Who knows? Maybe someday we'll have an online World Series of Poker where we all get the videos chats up and you get all these people in for all the big buy-ins.
They do have that. So the World Series online, they did have about 7 or 8 events last year during the World Series, and there was 14 scheduled on the schedule this June, July for those. But unfortunately, you'd have to be in one of the jurisdictions that it's legal, which is Nevada, New Jersey, as I said, Pennsylvania, Michigan, I believe. So, it's hard to call it the World Series of Poker when it can only be a few states. But there was about 14 of those scheduled, and I imagine they'll stay on the schedule. So people will still have their opportunity to win a bracelet.
Ooh, I'll have to keep my eyes out for them. Well, Daniel, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show in such short notice, to putting a break in your quarantine time here. But thank you very much. And where can people get a hold of you? I know you're on Twitter. You're probably on Facebook. Is there a place that you want people to follow you the most, that you do the most correspondence?
I'd say my number one go-to for social media is at Real Kid Poker. That's my Twitter. I am also on Instagram, DNakes Poker, but I don't post there as nearly as much. I'm much more of a Twitter guy.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you very much. I'm already following you, but I'm going to go do it because you told me there. But enjoy your quarantine, and maybe, if this lasts a couple more weeks, I'll finish the class up for a second time. Maybe I'll have you back on the show.
Sounds good, man. Good luck with it.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
You too, buddy. Take care.
All right, Big Lou. That was Daniel Negreanu, and I don't know. I feel smarter listening to that interview myself, and it kind of got me back in the mood to dive into my masterclass notes and really nail this poker thing.
Yeah, there you go. That was great. That was fantastic. Great listen.
And the crazy part is you ask these questions, and I think, I'll ask a question, and I think I know, like, all right, this is the kind of answer I'm probably going to get. But I would ask a question. He'd give me an answer. I didn't even think of that type of answer, and it's so much more articulate and astute than I even could have guessed on my best day. So not to put myself down, but I had a real blast doing that interview.
There you go. That's great.
Speaking of blast, Lou, the other night at a home poker game. So we're going to do you want to do a little poker face? We're going to do a little poker face segment?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Mike's poker face, Mike's poker face. Mike's poker face, Mike's poker face. Mike's poker face.
That's right. Big Lou, my arch nemesis now. We've been playing some poker ho games just like Negreanu was talking about. And we're going to talk about one specific hand that we had against each other because I was riding high on the hog. I was going to be chip leader. I was dealt ace pre-flop. So pocket rockets, got the bullets in the holster here, Lou. And I was feeling confident. We were down to maybe like 7 to 9 people at the table. Maybe 6. Yeah, maybe probably 7 people left. So
I think it was 7, yeah.
7 people left. We're pre-flop here. And I raised, Lou. And I'm figuring, all right, maybe I'll get some action or maybe not. And the only person who wanted to call my raise and actually re-raised me was you. So let me just get into your brain of what you were thinking when I raised and you re-raised me out of position. So what did you have? What were you thinking? What was going through that little mind of yours?
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. So I had King 7 suited in diamonds. Now, hear me out as to why I did this. So there's one thing that I feel like, because I'm a tech guy, and I feel like a lot of these games, they're kind of like, maybe it's just one day the computer's like, you know what, we're just gonna mess with people, and we're watching the games. I'm observing your table, and I'm playing at my table, and there are just some wild hands just coming out. And
lots of river rats floating by, lots of surprising finishes. I'll give you that, because there was a bunch of times my jaw was dropped and was like, oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like I have a decent amount of chips. I know that you raised me up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna let you bully me around. So you know what? I'm gonna push all in. I'm pretty sure I pushed all in first, and I was like, you know what? I want to see if I can just scare everyone else out and see if maybe I can scare Vito out. Now I'm not thinking that you have pocket aces, but I'm like, you know what? I can shake it up. I can just steal the blinds. I'll steal any small bets that we're in.
But I raised with my pocket aces because I was like, I tripled the blind. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
People already folded. There was only, I think you were big blind or something. Because
I think I was.
I was like, I was right behind dealer, or I was dealer. So I was in a good position. So I said, you know what? There's only a few people left. Let me do a little raise. So I believe I tripled the blinds. Then you re-raised that. Then I went all in over your head, and then you called my all in. That's my recollection, because we went back and forth.
It might be like that.
I was like, what does this guy have that he's re-raising me from his big blind? So I was like, maybe you had a pocket pair, maybe a lower pocket. You're feeling good. Maybe an ace king suited, something that I put you on a bunch of different hands because I thought about when I had the aces, but I still was like, let me think about what's going on here before I do anything stupid. And I'm like, there's nothing that, there's no position that I'm behind right now pre-flop with my pocket aces. So I had to do it. So
yeah. And I definitely, it's a bad call. If we were playing in person at a table in like Foxwoods or something like that, I would have ran away so fast it wouldn't have been funny. But I had a hunch. I had a feeling. And that's the one thing like I feel like you can kind of get away with when you're playing like these home games. It's like, I think I have a good feeling. I'm just going to do it. And you know what? You think about it and you're like, what's the worst that could happen? I get knocked out. Oh, well, it would have been nice to get in the money. But I mean,
oh my God. No.
I was ready to accept my fate.
No. Because you know what? If it were anyone other than me, I feel like you would have folded. I was watching you. You were pussyfooting around everyone's bets, check in, fold in. And then pre-flop, I'm all in. I mean, we each had like 10,000 chips. We were both sitting pretty. Like, that's what's killing me here is I feel like if that was anyone else, you would have folded. And not only did you call my pocket aces, you went all in. You called an all-in pre-flop with King 7 diamonds, and you caught the flush on the river. but just the way it went down, where I purposely raised big to get some clown like you out of there that had some King 7 suited that's going to stick it up my in the river. And you went all in pre-flop. Do you have any regrets at all? I mean, do you understand why I'm so bitter here?
Yeah, no, here's the thing is I felt terrible. I felt like the worst feeling ever. I can't remember what the last card was, but when I saw it was a diamond, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I felt horrible. I was ready to stand up and go make a sandwich, go watch some TV. I was ready to be done. And that happened. And I felt so terrible. And I think I messaged you, I side messaged you. I was like, I feel so bad. I'm sorry. But then 2 more people went out right after that hand, and you were 1 spot away from making into the final 4 too.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been great? And who took my spot in the final in the final 4? You did, because you clobbered me with King 7. I mean, if it was pocket 7s, I would have, and you caught the third 7, I would have been like, you know what? He got, he raised, he was in there. What's he gonna do? But, I don't know if I'll ever get over this. I'm gunning for you now. Now, if we're ever at the poker table. But the scary thing is, I had 2 aces, and you still burned me on the river. How can I even beat you? What trap can I lay? Who knows what you'll call me? And that's actually I actually got burned on another hand in that tournament where somebody else called with 5-9 offsuit, and I had pocket jacks, and they caught it was some sort of ridiculous thing they caught too. So,
oh my God!
We'll see. I'm getting my blood pressure up already here just talking about this hand. So.
Oh my God!
All right.
That was good.
So that's our poker home game, and just be careful because I hold vendettas and grudges over stupid things like that. So.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm coming for you, Lou. But that's basically what we got for today. Next week on the show, though, Lou, I got a pretty fun thing I'm going to talk about here. Now that the casinos are closed, I've been dabbling in other ways to. Waste my expendable income, I guess you could call it. But so people still collect sports cards, if you believe it or not. Now,
I believe it.
I personally don't. I don't have any at all. I've just been watching it. Sometimes I watch people online open up old boxes of sports cards to see if they get the Jordan rookies or whatever the hell they're looking for,
Uh-huh.
So I bought, for $40, I won an auction. And basically the way that you do it now is there's certain boxes of cards. There's this box called National Treasures from this company, Panini, Lou. It's $1,000 each box, right?
Oh, my God. So
a case is 4 boxes. It's $4,000. I'm assuming, I don't know what the dealers pay for it, but retail, they're about $1,000 a piece. So I paid $40. I won an eBay auction for the Chicago Bears. So every Bears card that comes out of the box, I get.
That's cool.
But National Treasures, there's only 1 pack in each box. It's like a cigar box, and it only has 8 to 10 cards in it.
Oh, my God.
So when I won the auction, I was I was hoping somebody would outbid me because I bid in the last 90 seconds. I bid extra. I basically upped the bid by $1. So I was like, oh, I'm probably not even going to have the high bid.
Yeah.
So I won this thing, right? But it was so late, I couldn't stay up. They do the box breaks online, the case breaks. You can watch them on YouTube.
Okay.
So I went to bed depressed. What a waste. I'm so stupid. What's wrong with me? What kind of delinquent am I? And then this morning I watched the live case break back, Lou. I might have made upwards of 10 times my money on this stupid thing.
Really?
Really. And I'm not going to get into the cards. I'm going to talk about it next week. These cards are numbered. They're limited. They're autographed pieces of jersey. It's really insane. So I don't even know what to do with these cards. I don't even have a collection. They'll be the first couple cards anyone's ever sent me in my life. So we're going to get into that next week. I'm doing my research, but it's a new little fun way. If you got some expendable income and you're looking for some fun sports stuff, I actually made more at a craps table with I made more betting on the stupid trading cards on eBay than I would have with $40 at a craps table. So tune in next week to hear about that. That's another big win. So we're really getting desperate here in the quarantine, Lou.
Well, at least you are quarantined. You're not working almost every day like I am.
No, I am.
You kind of are.
I'm
yeah,
still Monday to Friday, but not a lot of people at my work. But now they're talking they might lock down New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and that's us. So who knows? Maybe I will be home for a little bit. We'll see. I'm stocked up. I got enough DiGiorno's to. Who knows? Well, I got enough DiGiorno's that the DiGiorno's are going to kill me before the COVID-19. Let's just put it that way.
You got enough toilet paper? Are you okay with toilet paper?
Yeah, I'm good with all the essentials. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about getting the thing because I got the baby coming in 2 weeks.
I know, that's crazy.
I
Well,
know.
I've got 3 packs of like jumbo rolls in my trunk. If you need them, just let me know.
I got so many old T-shirts, Lou. We're good. After that, they'll be like, we found all these soiled T-shirts in the woods by the condominium complex. All right, so there you go. On that note, Lou, that basically sums up my whole quarantine. So I don't know what it is, Big Lou. I don't know if it's your jovial laugh, the fact you really screwed me over with the King 7. I don't know if it's the fact that I got to interview one of my poker heroes, Daniel Negreanu. But I got a funny feeling between me, you, the Chicago Bears, the Panini National Treasure Boxes, Daniel Negreanu, all our pals out in Vegas, all our pals over here that might be on lockdown. I got a funny feeling that together we're going to make luck happen.